and welcome to my channel. I'm Tiffany, a retired librarian turned homeschool mom, and this is going to be one of my homeschool legal videos. And this is we're moving into the wider international areas. So I'm getting most of this information from Wikipedia, to be honest. It's one, I don't speak languages, and two, sometimes it's just difficult because there's a lot of small countries and it's kind of varied. In this video, I'm going to look at Africa, the Middle East, and Asia. And the reason I'm covering all of them in one video is because, frankly, it's illegal in most of these countries to homeschool, and there's not much else to it. There's not really any other things to say. It's the fact that it's just not legal to homeschool. Now, with Africa, it's a huge country, or sorry, continent. It's not a country. South Africa is a country. Africa's obviously, it's gigantic and it's a mess. So there's going to be a lot of countries where it's simply unknown. These countries are far too poor to be paying attention to homeschooling. They're trying to survive, or, in the middle of various civil wars and dealing with English expansionism. And colonialism made a mess of this continent, a big one. So there's not a lot of information going on with Africa. With Asia and the Middle East, you're running into the same problem in some cases, along with there's a lot of authoritarian regimes. A lot of these countries are not stable. So homeschooling, again, is not something they're paying any attention to, and mostly it's illegal if it's an authoritarian regime. So this is going to be a quick fire video going over whether it's legal or illegal and how messy it can get. So let's have a look at Africa. So on top here. So, and again, most of this information is coming from Wikipedia. I'm doing my best to avoid the Homeschool Legal Defense Association because I'm not Christian and I don't agree with their views. So let's start off with South Africa. So South Africa is a little confusing. It's probably one of the most stable countries in Africa, on the continent. But again, it's technically legal. You were supposed to register, but quite frankly, they don't have the infrastructure to always support this. So in various areas, there's just nobody to monitor it, and there's really no foundation to do this. So why technically you have to register to homeschool in South Africa? Most likely a lot of people don't. I'm guessing the upper class, particularly the upper class white, do if they homeschool, but the native classes, as in the African people, the actual South Africans, at least the people who originated there, and who are far poorer due to, the whole apartheid mess that was going on for far too long because racism and colonialism. But essentially, as I said, it's legal. You are supposed to register, but a lot of times there's not the infrastructure to do so. So let's move on. So in Sierra Leone, it is illegal to homeschool. So education, particularly public education, is mandatory. Kenya has legalized homeschooling, but of course it's going to have some requirements, most likely registration. Cote d'Ivoire homeschooling, it's legal, similar to Kenya, so there's going to be some restrictions. You're going to have to register and follow their specific rules. Botswana homeschooling, again, is legal, similar to Cote d'Ivoire and Kenya. There's a few restrictions. I'm guessing it's not really popular in these countries, at least, because most parents have to work. They're impoverished, so they're going to send their kids to school. Apparently in Egypt, homeschooling laws don't exist, so I'm guessing it's not common and few people do it. It's probably done by more of the expat community, if anything, and that's going to go the same with most of these countries. Ghana homeschooling apparently is illegal, but of course it's probably highly regulated. So again, small country, it's mostly, if it's going to be done by anybody, it's going to be done by expats and the upper class. Namibia homeschooling is legal. So it looks like, however, it's not very common. Again, poor countries. They have other things to do and they're not going to be homeschooling their kids, which really is a privilege of the middle and upper class. So Uganda, there's no homeschooling laws. So I'm guessing really poor country, there's not really going to be anybody homeschooling. If they're homeschooling, it's non-traditional homeschooling. It's you're learning to work on the farm and you're learning to work in the community. It's not academic based. So that is apparently all we know about Africa. So, and I'm guessing, yeah, most of these countries are a mess. So homeschooling, if it exists, it's not going to be academic. It's literally going to be learning to survive. So we're going to move on to Asia and the Middle East. And this is going to get into it's illegal in most of these countries. So this is a quick fire thing here. So Armenia, homeschooling is illegal. Azerbaijan, if I'm pronouncing that question, again, illegal. China is weird. It's technically illegal without permission, but it doesn't apply to foreign students. So because there's a lot of foreign students in China, they probably simply don't care all that much. So, but for their regular people, it's pretty much illegal unless you get permission, and you have to get permission to breathe in China. So that's not surprising. Burundi, which is a country I've never actually heard of, it's illegal, as is in the country of Georgia. So, and that's kind of that's almost the Eastern Europe kind of area. So Hong Kong, homeschooling is legal, but it's rarely used. And I don't know how that's changing with China being aggressive. So they're having issues. So it's probably going to become illegal at some point. Homeschooling in India is legal with a few requirements, but again, it's not common. Large country, a lot of poor people, they most likely are trying to send their kids to the best schools, and everybody's, again, it's working, or they're homeschooling. If it's anything, it's survival and learning to work on the farm or in the family business. So Indonesia, homeschooling is legal. There's a few restrictions. So apparently they're kind of letting that run, which is interesting. Israel. So again, these are in alphabetical order, so at least in most cases. So again, Israel, it's legal but restricted. Not surprising, their countries. Israel's a bit of a mess. You know, there's a whole Palestine fighting thing and issues with war. So I'm guessing they're trying to keep control, and they want to make sure their people are understanding. Not to mention, I think military service is mandatory in that country, so it makes it a little different. Japan, homeschooling is illegal. Not surprising. They have a messed up work culture in that country. I'm not surprised. Japan, they're another country that's very focused on their culture. I'm guessing it doesn't apply to expats, but I'm not entirely clear. So be careful in Japan. Again, they're a very country that their government relies on a very strict structure. Kuwait, there are no homeschooling laws. Again, very poor desert country, so they're not paying attention to that because, you know, they have other problems. Kazakhstan, homeschooling is legal for gifted, disabled, and expats, but it's illegal for other students. So if your kid is special or you're not from that country, you can homeschool. Otherwise, they want their general population being in their public school system. So Malaysia, it's legal, but it's rarely used. So again, most of these people in Malaysia are poor or they're working, and it has a high work culture. So they're most likely just going to send their kids to school. Pakistan, homeschooling is legal but rare. So again, poor country, kind of a mess. So homeschooling is probably, if it's done by people who are of the upper class and who have the safety to do so. Qatar, homeschooling is legal. Again, small Eastern Europe, Middle Eastern country. Saudi Arabia, it's illegal. Are we surprised? No, not at all. Singapore, homeschooling is illegal. Again, highly totalitarian country. You're not gonna. They're very controlled, so not surprised there. The Philippines, homeschooling is legal with few restrictions. So again, the Philippines is a little bit more open to homeschooling. North Korea, it's illegal. I'm pretty sure it's illegal to breathe in North Korea. Most everything is illegal in North Korea. It's North Korea. We're not surprised here. South Korea, homeschooling is illegal, but the law doesn't seem to be enforced. So I guess they have better things to do than chase after parents not schooling their kids. So interesting there. Taiwan, homeschooling is legal since 2011. So they're moving on to more modern, looser schooling regulations. Thailand is similar. Homeschooling has been legal since 2004, but it is highly regulated. Turkey, homeschooling is illegal. Not surprised there. Their country's a bit of a mess and becoming totalitarian again. The UAE, homeschooling is illegal again. small Middle Eastern country. They're very, very controlled. So that is it with the entire Middle East and Asia, at least what we can really find on it. So again, most of these countries, it's illegal because that's just how their country works. And they're totalitarian regimes, and it's a mess. And Africa, you don't really know what the heck is going on because half the country is a gigantic mess. So most people are too busy to try to survive than pay attention to education. Again, a controlled education system is really the product of a stable government and a stable, open government to an extent. So you have a lot of these Asian countries where they're communist, or they have other types of regimes here where they want strict control of their people. So allowing that homeschooling to happen is not going to happen because they're trying to keep things in control. In other countries, and most of the time they're just poor. They're not sending their kids to school anyway. They're busy working on the farm or in the factory or trying to simply survive. So in a lot of these countries, it's almost irrelevant. So, but that is it for Africa, Asia, and the Middle East. If you like this review, I have more detailed reviews for Canada, the US, all the states, Australia, New Zealand, and I will try to get into some of the other countries. Some of these are still going to be similar to this, where they're quick fire just because massive in poverty. I'll try to go to more detail in more European countries because there's, again, stable countries, there's going to be more education laws. All right, thank you.